In today's video, we're going to be showing you the proper way to use a Searplate Griddle, the newest item in our line of live fire cooking accessories. The Searplate is made using a 1/4-inch steel, which we prefer over cast iron because it heats up faster, is lighter, and allows you to have a nice, smooth, clean cooking surface that's very non-stick once it's been seasoned. You'll notice on one side of the Searplate that there's a notch cut out. That's to allow you to use your outpost grilling system at the same time as your Searplate griddle. You'll notice under the Searplate there are 3 stainless steel tabs that center the Searplate on your fire pit. Using your cooking gloves or your tongs, you can actually tilt the Searplate to make a perfectly level surface, even if your fire pit is not on an even level surface. The reason the tabs are stainless steel is because they make contact with the stainless on the top of your fire pit, and we don't want to leave any rust residue on your fire pit itself. You'll notice that on each side of the Searplate, the handles are made of paca wood. It's a very durable wood that can withstand the elements if it's left outside. We oil the Searplates here at the factory so when they come out of the box, they're ready to use. And now I'm going to talk about how to actually use the Searplate on your fire pit. The biggest key to using the Searplate is having a very low fire, which is shown by having a base of coals at the bottom of your fire pit. I want to make sure that's the case because the Searplate will heat up very quickly and you want to make sure that it doesn't get too hot and burn your food. Once you're ready to put the Searplate on the fire pit, get a buddy to help you. One person on each side is better because the Searplates, depending on the size, can weigh from 22 up to 48 pounds. If you feel like your Searplate is not hot enough, give it a couple more minutes, and if you still feel that way, add a small log in the center of the fire pit to help bring the temperature up. Remember, cooking over a fire is always about fire control. So how do you know when your Searplate might be getting too hot? Putting a few droplets of water on the Searplate, if they evaporate immediately, it's likely your Searplate is too hot. Another indication is if the oil on the surface is really smoking, another indication that it may be too hot. Keep in mind, however, that some smoking is part of normal cooking on the Searplate as food is making contact with that hot surface. Once your Searplate is up to temperature, it's time to add the food. It's good to have all your food out there nearby the fire so you're not running inside to grab it when your Searplate's at the perfect temperature. Today we'll be showing you kind of how to use a Searplate using hot dogs, eggs, and steak. We're showing you the hot dogs because we want to emphasize that they won't roll into the fire if you're doing hot dogs, sausages, or brats on the Searplate because it's nice and even. Sort of the same thing with the eggs. You know, they're runny, but they're going to work great on the Searplate. And then with the steak, we want to show you that nice sear you're going to get with the Searplate griddle. Once you're finished cooking, you can scrape off any leftover food particles that are on the Searplate into the fire. As soon as you're done cooking, you're going to want to remove the Searplate. We don't want to leave it on the fire for the rest of the evening as it'll burn off all the oils and you'll have to restart the seasoning process. Get your buddy, pick up on both sides, and carry the Searplate to a safe location, either using our Searplate stand or a non-combustible surface that no children or pets can get close to. The Searplate's going to stay hot for a long time, so you want to make sure that wherever you place it, it's in an area where no one's going to trip over it or step on it, and it's on a non-combustible surface. Once the Searplate is cooled down, you'll want to apply a final layer of oil before storing it. You can use either canola oil, avocado oil, or grapeseed oil, and just use a paper towel to spread the oil on the Searplate. Now your season will be protected for your next cook. Okay, so we covered all of the do's. Now we'll cover some of the don'ts. The first one is don't leave your Searplate on a roaring fire as you're hanging out around the fire with friends. If you leave your Searplate on after building up your fire to hang around, it's going to burn off that seasoning oil and that nice non-stick surface that you've worked hard to build up, and you're going to have to restart the seasoning process. Another reason to remove the Searplate before you build the fire again is that if you burn the oil off, it is more prone to rust. You want to make sure you preserve that seasoning both from a non-stick perspective as well as to make sure it doesn't rust. Another thing to keep in mind is you do not want to put the Searplate directly from the fire onto your grass or your lawn because it will sear the grass. You also don't want to hang a hot Searplate inside of a shed where it can come in contact with combustible materials. You want to wait for it to cool down and then transport it to where you're storing it. The Searplate Griddle from Breeo allows you to take your live fire cooking experience to another level. Use it in conjunction with our outposts, our kettle hook, and our other accessories to get the complete live fire cooking experience.